Hey, it's Nikki. If you're tuning into this podcast, chances are high that you experience at least occasional moments of overwhelm, resistance, lack of inspiration, and general WTF, can I even do this moments. Yes? Well, I made something for you. It's called the Naptime Empire Survival Guide, an email and audio series specifically curated to help you shift out of overwhelm, comparison, hiding in the bathroom, and back into inspired aligned action. We're talking unfiltered stories and insights from entrepreneurial moms who get this life, plus tried and tested tools to use when your brain is full, your energy's drained, and you could use some help getting your spark back. It's all delivered right to your inbox, organized neatly in emails that you can store up for a rainy day and come back to as often as you need to. As a fun bonus, you'll also get an invite to join my private Facebook community so you can get behind the scenes scoop on the Naptime Empire's book and first dibs on my most recent offers as they come to life. Visit naptimeempires.com/guide to secure your copy, and I'll meet you in your inbox. All right, now back to the episode.
You're listening to the Naptime Empires podcast with my mom, Nikki Elledge Brown. Mom, your show's on.
Thanks, bud. I got it from here. Welcome to the Naptime Empires podcast, refreshingly honest conversations on the realities of parenthood and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Nikki Elledge Brown. Let's get started. Ari Hale is a business coach for service providers, marketing strategist, and tech nerd who loves to travel and eat around the world with her son, Silas. She was one of my very first virtual assistants back in 2015 when we met. So I was pregnant with Diki and she was pregnant with Sai. Honestly, she blew my mind with how on it and organized she was. She loves a spreadsheet. She's not lying when she calls herself a tech nerd. She just gave me so much faith in humanity and delegation and skills because I just didn't realize that humans could operate at that level, especially when it was like launch time, which is eventually what became her specialty. We quickly became friends throughout all the time that we spent together. I like to joke that our boys became fluent in webinars in utero because we were hosting so many of them. And her support was instrumental. If you've ever heard me talk about my trimester of awesome in 2015, which was my second trimester and some of my most profitable months of business at the time, it's thanks to Ari's support. And it's been so inspiring to watch how her business has evolved and transformed since then. Definitely check out the links to her podcast and the content that she's been creating this year. I'll put it all in the show notes. Super practical, incredibly valuable. She's been around the block and behind the scenes of all kinds of businesses, so she knows things and she's now sharing them. In this conversation, we cover how Ari got started in online business as a virtual assistant, the number one mistake she made when starting out, and what she advises her students to do differently now, how the birth of Silas sparked a transformation from self-described workaholic identity, how she traveled through Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia while working and momming her toddler. It was just her and Sai traveling the world. Her top launch tips that she learned while managing some of the internet's flashiest promos, how she's leveraged Twitter to launch her own personal business coaching and consulting brand and build her email list, and what she's up to now, sharing her skills and knowledge and marketing gems, which I mentioned earlier. Hope you enjoy. Okay, Ari, it's happening. We're on the record. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm just so thrilled.
So as we dive in, the first part is really just to set the frame of the conversation. So you had business and were working from home before your little man arrived. That's when we met, actually, while we were both pregnant with Deacon and Silas. So just tell me more about the setup and then we'll walk through. I want to get, from then to now, because we've known each other for 5 years now. We're almost at our 5-year anniversary. But yeah, just start from the beginning of like how you got into the online business world and just working from home and how that journey started for you. And then when Sai came into the picture, how things shifted.
I started as a virtual assistant and I was living in Seattle with my family. I had moved there with them so I could, I was in a weird place in my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I wasn't making a lot of money in LA where I'm from. And I was kind of just stuck. So my parents said, well, we're moving up to Seattle. Your dad's getting transferred for work. Why don't you come up here, save some money, finish your degree, and, figure it out from there. So I went up to Seattle and I was working a day job, going to school at night for web development. And I don't know, I was tired of being broke. So I did what I think all of us do at some point, was I Googled how to make money online. And I saw a bunch of stuff. And I stumbled upon this course that I don't think is even around anymore, but it had a very low commitment, like $35 a month for 12 months, and I could cancel in 30 days. I was like, all right, cool. I'm going to put my whole effort into this for 30 days. And if it doesn't work, I'm just going to ask for a refund, right? So I got into that course, and that was my introduction to mindset. But before I could even finish the course, the owner sent out an email saying he was going to be in Seattle for a mini mastermind event. And I could pay like $100 and go mastermind, something I never heard about before, and help. So they would help me figure out like my first business idea. And so I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll go. I'm super like introverted and a homebody. And so going to this thing was completely out of the norm for me. Yeah. And the whole way there, I was texting my boyfriend at the time, Silas' dad. I don't want to go. I'm just going to come home. I'm going to turn around. Like, I don't want to do this. I was like, well, just go and show up and, stay for 15 minutes. And if you hate it, then just leave, but he said, you should at least go and show up. So I went and I stayed, and it was a good thing. And the group told me about being a virtual assistant, which is something I never heard about before, but based off my skill set and stuff, they're like, you'd be a great fit for this. And then I got my first 3 clients from that event. And so I went from making like immediately $16 an hour at my day job to $25 and being able to work from anywhere and from home. So I don't know if that's enough of like the backdrop, but that is basically how I got into the online world, was through, becoming a virtual assistant.
Well, I'm thankful for that Google search, because eventually we connected through an agency, and you were like I was like, I didn't know that people like Ari existed. Like, she was so organized in her brain. I was like, how does this work? The spreadsheets, the organization, the keeping track of things. I was just blown away by all the things that you could do. And that was one of the most inspiring things to me too, was like, if you didn't know how to do something, then you would just figure it out. And it wasn't something, a lot of people like excuses, but I appreciated that you didn't. So it was like to have you as my running buddy. And we were literally due, when's Sai's birthday? In November?
Yeah, November.
Yeah, and then Diki is in December. So we were like running buddies through those last trimesters and hosting all the webinars and co-hosting all the webinars. And it was a fun time. And then stuff shifted, obviously, once they got here. So how did work shift for you? Like, by the time he was born, you were working as a VA and you had multiple clients, right? So how did things shift once he got here, and how did that meet your expectations, or how did, was it like what you were expecting it to be, different, harder, easier? What shifted once he got here?
Oh my gosh, I had such a hard time once he got here, because I literally couldn't work as much as I needed to or wanted to.
Yeah.
And I couldn't take much time off either. After having him, I think I took like 2 weeks off and then started working, part-time again with clients. But like, I had saved a bunch of money, but throughout my pregnancy, Silas's dad didn't work. And that was like probably the start of like the end of things for us. So like, I was super stressed out, new baby, first time mom, the financial responsibilities on me. I'm not even healed yet, and like working from home with the baby with no help, because you're just too new to have around people. So I was like, I can't do day-to-day stuff and manage launches and manage multiple clients, but I didn't know what else I could do. And so I think through working with different coaches, and then working with Susan Ferraro through her mindset coaching program, that really helped me figure out and kind of feel my way through the next steps. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, but out of the things I was doing, I was just feeling my way through. All right, well, the launching stuff I can handle because that's just like one piece of the puzzle. I don't have to worry about the whole day to day or like, being available as an assistant anymore because time just doesn't allow for it anymore.
Yeah.
And like meetings and stuff are like super hard with a new baby. So it was completely different and I didn't know what to expect. But I wasn't prepared for just everything. I feel like the hormonal ups and downs from like giving birth to the hormonal ups and downs from nursing. And then, some male clients I had didn't really understand why I couldn't come back to work as quickly. And like, you can't really explain like, bro, I'm stitched from front to back.
There's a whole situation going on here.
And then like any health complications. And then, but I think what was the hardest for me out of all of that stuff was having to like transform my identity as like a workaholic to like, I can't be a workaholic. My whole identity was around work. My hobbies were work and stuff. And so that part of me, that identity that I, took on completely died. And I got really depressed and like really sad and just felt so lost. So I feel like that part was the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
I don't know who I am. I can't work. I don't know who I am.
So you mentioned Suze, who we love, and I've probably mentioned her a squillion times on the podcast too. What helped you shift out of that? And do you think it was also just time and hormones and healing, and like just getting past a certain point? Because obviously those first few months, especially and it's for several months where sleeping is just like, who knows when or where we're going to get some Z's and stuff. Like what started to shift, or when did the fog start to lift for you where you were like, okay, let me try this? And also then y'all went traveling internationally. How old was he whenever y'all did that? I can't remember. He was little. He was still diapers.
Yeah, he was almost 2 when we left.
Okay. So what happened between then? Like what happened between when he was born and you were like, oh, okay, this is going to be different and it's got to be different. So I have to figure that out. And then when you were like, okay, and you shifted from VA into launch manager, specifically focusing on those pieces, like what was that transformation like?
It was gradual and everything took time. And I think what was interesting, like reflecting back on all of this, was I had resources. I have mom friends. I had you, but I felt like such a lunatic going through like these emotional and existential ups and downs that like, I didn't even know how to like bring this stuff up and talk about it. Right. For a while, I literally felt like I was losing my mind, but with Suze, it kind of helped me to stop. Working with her helped me to just kind of figure out like how I want to feel, past things in my life, like how they're affecting present day things. And then also just being okay with, being present and focusing on just finding my present flow and happiness versus stressing out, because I'm A-type also, and I like to plan and I like to have details. And so I was getting very stuck and frustrated and down because you have a kid, you really can't plan anything anymore. It's completely up to the baby what's going on that day. Yeah. And I just didn't know what my life was going to look like anymore. And that, for a control freak, is very scary. Yeah. And so then, his dad and I just, our relationship just like was already rocky after a while. And then I ended up getting pregnant. And so I feel like we both put our best effort into trying to make like the relationship and our family work. But at the end of the day, like communication stopped. Like it wasn't healthy. It got very toxic to the point where there was, the reason why like I left, or what really motivated me to leave, was that we got into an argument, a stupid argument, and it escalated. But that was the point where I was like, all right, we're literally going to get to the point where we're hurting each other. So I was like, I didn't renew my lease. I sold everything. Anything I couldn't sell, I put into storage or like with my parents. And I just told everyone, like, I'm out for 30 days. I'm going to Thailand. I need to just get out of here, away from everybody. I feel like I hit my rock bottom, right? Because I got the money thing figured out, but like emotionally and how I felt was rock bottom. And then that whole situation happened. So I was like, I need to go. And, I had always wanted to go and travel. And I felt like with having a kid, like, oh, I can't do it anymore. I'm going to have to wait until he gets older. And, I'm glad I proved myself wrong. We were gone for maybe like a year and a half total. And it was honestly like one of the best experiences of my life.
Mm. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. And I do remember when it was going down and just such a shift. It was such a, okay, that's not happening. So we're going to, something's going to change. And you had been talking about wanting to travel and blogging about traveling or food and all of those things. And so it was like, that was such a moment of a watershed moment of like, okay, then we're just going to do this now. And it was like, okay, there she goes. Okay, bye. I'm like such a weenie when it comes to travel. And then you're just like, yeah, we're going to figure this out. And you did. And it was so fun to watch.
I literally had nothing to lose at that point. Money was coming in and consistent. So I was like, you know what? And it also got to a point with his dad where we had broken up and separated already before like the whole thing happened.
Yeah.
But he wasn't really helping me. Like there was no consistent schedule. He wasn't seeing Silas consistently. He wasn't calling him to like check in, asking if I need anything, dropping off diapers. Like it was all on me. So I felt like, well, there isn't going to be much of a difference if we leave,
Yeah.
So I didn't feel bad about it. Like he's barely seeing his kid anyway, so we might as well go have an experience and just come back.
And so what was business like at that point? That's when you had shifted and you were specializing in launch management for like a handful of clients?
Yes. So I went from working with like, at my peak, I was probably working with like 6 or 7 clients for the VA stuff. Then I started raising my prices and working with less people. And then I started just doing launch stuff. So I had things like 2 main clients. And then depending on what phase of the launch we were in, I could sometimes bring in a third person. But I figured out like my sweet spot with pricing, workload, lifestyle freedom. So, 2 to 3 was where I found like, all right, nothing's really like falling through the cracks. Everything's manageable. I'm not overly stressed out, even though like I'm literally launch after launch after launch after launch, which that was crazy in and of itself. But that's what the business looked like. And a client would usually book me to work on one launch, and then where things kind of fell like into sticky stuff was after the launches, they would want to keep me on their team and try to find like other things for me to do and work on. And, I liked having the consistent revenue, but it made things like muddy and confusing as far as like, I'm still an independent contractor. I was getting pulled back into the day-to-day of people's businesses and doing things like way out of the scope of work and what we agreed to. And, I just wasn't respecting, my own boundaries and business model, So
you're just that good. You're just that good. That's what I'm saying. Everybody would be like, whoa, I didn't even know that it could be like this. And then, but obviously you had so much going on, and even time zones and living like in totally different time zones than your clients, and then figuring out what that would look like for y'all over there and all of that. Like there's just so much to consider. I mean, and then Wi-Fi and not knowing, because you were kind of deciding, like when you first went, did you know how long you were going to be in Thailand? And then y'all hopped around too. You weren't just there. Where else did you go? So
we spent time in Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, and Indonesia.
Yes.
And so when I first got there, I was hopping around a lot, like every couple of days. And I started getting very homesick and very depressed again, because it's a lot to handle. with luggage, packing, keeping track of Silas through the airport, paying someone to help me load bags, and then finding a place to live for the hotel, and then making sure that the internet works properly. And if it doesn't, does the hotspot work? And then if it doesn't, like, crap, what am I going to do? It's literally 1:00 in the morning in Asia, which is like, I think, I don't know, either 6 or 8 a.m. in the U.S., depending on what part of the country. So I need to be online soon. Nothing's open, Calls got hard. And so what I figured out was, okay, I need to stay in one spot for at least 30 days.
Yeah.
That way, like, I can, create some sense of home. I can learn my neighborhood. I can make sure my internet is like always good at home. And, I'm not constantly like packing and unpacking every couple of days and trying to like keep track of my kid running around and stuff.
Yeah. So where were y'all the longest?
We spent the most time in Vietnam for sure.
Yeah.
Like probably, I think like 7 months total.
Oh, wow. And what did you love about it? Like, what are some of your things? Was there anything unexpected? Because you'd never been to those parts of the world before, right?
Never, right? So there was a couple things that were surprising. I feel like I'll speak for myself. Growing up and like learning world history, we hear a lot about like communism and the Communist Party, and Vietnam's a communist country. So I was nervous going there, like, what is it going to look like? How are people being treated? And as far as being a foreigner, a U.S. foreigner in another country, I didn't notice much of a difference for myself. And I know that's like extremely privileged and not how, the locals live there.
Sure.
But it wasn't a scary, experience at all. Everywhere I went, for the most part, everyone was super friendly, super nice, like loved Silas, would like give him little treats, candies, toys. Street vendors would give like him extra food if we stopped and bought something. They wanted to pick him up and take pictures with him. It was really funny. And I loved that part of it because when we left, Silas was he was shy. He didn't really want to like hang out with new people. He was scared to he didn't really want to stay with like my parents alone. He was like a little anxious. And then I feel like being abroad really helped to bring him out of his shell, where he became more outgoing and would like approach little kids to play and talk to people. And, he still has like that part of him that's just, outgoing and wants to talk to people. And so with Vietnam, there's a couple of things I loved. Obviously like the cost of living was, a fraction of what I was paying in the US. Daycare was really affordable. Getting around, so they have a system that's kind of like Uber. It's called something else. Yeah. But you can also get on like a moped. So Silas and I like bought helmets.
Oh yeah, I remember those videos.
We'd get on we'd get on the back of someone driving us on, a moped scooter and like ride around town. There was diversity in food. Right. So if I didn't feel like eating Vietnamese food, there was like good pizza places. There was, French food, German food, some Americanized versions of food. And it didn't taste, just when someone like another person is trying to cook something that they're not used to cooking. They're not used to cooking. It tastes weird.
Yeah.
So there wasn't very much of that. Like the pizza would like actually like made sense according to American pizza standards.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just the people were nice. It was super affordable, and I don't know, there was just something special about it. It just felt good and nice. But there was something I loved about every country that we visited and got to spend time in also.
And you did such a great job documenting it all. Like, I know you had your Instagram stories. Like, did you download all of those videos or you had them on your phone? Because I'm like, those are priceless scrapbooks that he can, and you guys together can watch back like you just did. It was just it just seemed from here like such a special adventure. And even just the way you described it, like what a formative time in his life where he was learning to find buddies and make friends wherever he goes. Like that's such a priceless lesson. And then likewise for you to learn what you're capable of on the other side of the world, not knowing anybody, like it's just, I'm just really still amazed that you did that with a toddler.
It was wild. I think I saved a lot of like the photos and the stories on Instagram. So like through my stories, I think I labeled it by like either city or country that we were in. But you need to like save and download those.
Yes, or hire someone to like screen record them all because I just get nervous. I feel that way even about mine because I basically just use Instagram for digital scrapbooking anyway. But I'm like, I need to download it all or make sure that I save it because there's lots of time and effort that went into everything that you were documenting, and it's priceless.
Yeah, I wish I had taken more pictures and taken more videos and stuff, but I'm glad to have, what we do have. And an old client, paid for a photographer to like take pictures of us while we were in Bali. So we have some like really nice looking photos as well. Yeah. So, we were able to document stuff, but that's always something I regret. Even like when Silas was a baby and when I was pregnant, I'm always like, I should have taken more pictures.
I know. Or video, like either way, whichever one you do, you're like, oh, but I could have, should have. Where basically it's just, okay, let's just install cameras or have GoPros constantly but then it's like, me and digital hoarding. So then it just really becomes an issue because then what I do have is not in any way organized or sorted in any way. So it's like, what good is it doing? But anyway, okay. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. What was it that sparked you to come back? Or I don't even know, like I'm ignorant in terms of how visas and things work, but what was it that sparked you to come back about after your 18-ish months out there?
Yeah. So the visa process is pretty simple for most of those countries. Like you can land there and get a visa on arrival. And they just give you like, I think it's a 30-day visa, but you can stay for like 28 days. And then you can either go to the consulate and extend your visa or leave the country and come back and get another visa on arrival.
Okay.
Vietnam was the only one that was different where you had to like buy a visa online and get it like pre-approved, but it only took like a couple of days to do it. There's like agencies and stuff that, go ahead and handle it. So theirs was like just a few extra steps, but it wasn't hard or difficult. So my family just missed me and Silas, and we were only supposed to be gone for like 30 days, and we ended up being gone, I think, for like 6 months or something.
Right.
Yeah. And my family and I were very close, right? Like I always at their house and, they're always hanging out with Silas and stuff. So they're like, I'm glad you're having fun and stuff, but, can we see our grandson? We miss him. So, my mom's like, I want to take him out for Halloween, and, you guys aren't here for Thanksgiving or Christmas, and, we didn't get to do a birthday with him this year. So I was like, all right, time to come back.
Mm-hmm. Like the streetlights came on in Seattle. Okay, Ari, you had fun. Now it's time. Our time. Thank you.
Then finding yourself. Come back home.
Right. Bring yourself back here. So what was that like, the transition back?
Oh, man. I think the first year was just interesting because I came back and I was just like, you know what? I don't want to do this business anymore. It's a lot of work, managing launches and stuff. And it's a lot of emotions to handle on top of like, what's going on in people's personal life and their day-to-day business. And my cup was empty. I didn't have space to I didn't have capacity to hold it anymore for everybody and to be like, everyone's rock and strong person and talking them off the ledge. It just got to a point where I was like, look, we've all done this so many times before. Can we just stick to the plan, stick to the process and get this stuff done,
And let me interrupt you and let's just pause and even define what a launch is, because it's possible that our listener is like, what do y'all keep talking about when you talk about a launch? So how would you describe a typical launch when you're saying launch management in these businesses? It was online businesses. How would you describe or define it?
Yeah, so I was working with online business owners who had mainly courses and digital products. Some had coaching programs also. But a launch or a campaign is when they are basically opening enrollment for their course and they need to get people to buy the course. And so there's a whole ton of like marketing stuff, development, design, copywriting, ads. There's a ton of things that need to happen so that the client can open the doors and open enrollment and convert, leads into customers. Oftentimes it's a webinar, which is basically an online sales presentation. Yeah. And then, after the webinar, there's a bunch of things that need to happen as far as marketing and communications to continue to persuade people that, this course is a fit for them and that they should enroll or invest in it. So
you were coordinating all those moving parts and pieces. And of course, a launch can be as simple or as complicated as we want to make it. And plenty of people do it basically just with themselves on a smaller scale or a more simplified scale. But these were like intense, big launches that were like lots of moving parts and pieces and hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue and lots of team members involved in all of that.
We're probably spending just $100K in ads over 4 weeks. And then whole teams, your team expenses probably double around that time, right? Yeah. If you don't if you want to launch last minute, which is a whole other thing.
I know you have so many stories. I'm sure even from my own, where you're like, okay. And we're always like, wait, are you talking about me?
No. It's a common thing because I feel like there's so much stuff that happens in business, and then doing it for myself now, sometimes it's just not a good time to launch, or you'll have a burst of energy or creativity, or you'll think of something my audience will actually love this. Let me validate it with them. All right, they love it. They're really excited about it. So let me put something together, right? Yeah. So I understand that part of it now. But these launches weren't that also, right? I feel like you should take 3 to 4 months to prep for a launch and get ahead and have everything be smooth. And a lot of times it just didn't work out that way, and I'm very much so all right, well, let's just get it done, but because it wasn't my money and my responsibility to pay these people, it was easy for me to stay pretty stoic about everything going on. Yeah. Versus, I don't have much overhead as far as team and ad spend and all that stuff. Yeah. So, but I could see oh man, I'm about to get $20,000 in invoices for team expenses. And then we just put $100K in spend on my credit card. This has to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So even then, even you being on as objective as you could possibly be, the launching like that, which to me, I'm barf. That doesn't sound fun or ideal to me in any way. That is not a desired business model that I have, but it's a thing for lots of people, but it can be the most stressful point. And that's what you're saying, is that when you came back, you're okay, my cup is empty, because even as objective as you could be, always being part of that the highest stakes moments in people's businesses, that wears on you. So what did you do? How did you reset?
I got fired by some clients. I fired some clients, and I basically just stopped working, and I sold, my wait list and leads to work with me. And, that helped. Luckily I had some savings, from living in Asia, and, got my credit together and stuff. So I was all right, I could probably
Hang on, even just you saying you sold the wait list of leads to work with you, that's a smart thing I've never even heard of.
Oh yeah, so I got that from my friends when I worked in the hair industry, actually. One of my friends decided she was done doing hair, and so she sold her client list to a friend of ours. And so when I was you know what, I'm done with this, Yeah. I sold my waitlist leads to, somebody that I trusted who was doing something similar. And I also made introductions for her as well.
Yeah. Well, that's win-win for everybody. I'm so glad you shared that nugget. That's a very powerful nugget. I've never even heard of someone doing that. So that's very smart. Okay.
And a huge mistake I made and regret was that I didn't start list building or audience building when I first got started, even though like I felt like I had nothing to talk about. I wasn't an expert, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that was also being afraid that clients were going to think that like I was trying to like take something from them, or I wasn't like committed or dedicated to like the work we agreed to do. You know, it did get like weird sometimes, you know, when I was like, you know, trying to do stuff, and, you know, it was weird because I always felt like, well, of course I'm going to like get your work done, you know?
Right.
And so when I stopped doing the client work, I had nothing to fall back on. Like I stopped working, stopped getting paid instantly, you know, versus had I just pushed through and continued to like audience and list build anyway, I wouldn't have used up a lot of my savings in, you know, the last year and a half, you know, and I could have started something a lot sooner by just like surveying the audience I had. Like, hey, I'm not doing this stuff anymore, but, you know, what are y'all struggling with? What do you need help with? I want to put something together. Right. Yeah. So when I, you know, blew everything up in 2019, I started taking Twitter more seriously. And like grew my audience there and built a list organically from there. And so, you know, eventually I started having options again, but it was like 6 or 7 months where like just nothing was coming in, and I was taking time to like recharge and relax, but it's still stressful, you know, when money is just coming out.
Right. Yeah, it is. So how did you stay the course? Like how were you like, okay, but I am going to figure this out? Because it's like you knew because you'd been behind the scenes of so many different businesses, then you get to pick and choose how you want to do it, # on her terms. But like what kept you going in those early months where you were building the momentum, but you weren't seeing the revenue yet because you hadn't created the paid offers just yet?
Yeah. So one thing I did right away was offer consult calls.
Okay.
And I started them. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's a good thing. That's a good note. Okay. So consults from the beginning, because that's the simplest, lowest barrier to entry is like, hey, I can help somebody one-on-one.
Exactly. So I started like the first month, I did a bunch for free just to see, do I like these? Can I help these people with what they need help with? And then I needed to build up a testimonial bank also, and like social credibility as well. So, you know, I would do the free consult, give them everything I knew, resources, and then, you know, they would like the consult and they would say, well, like, you know, can I pay you? What can I do? And I said, don't pay me, but if you don't mind, just like share an honest review of your experience with me doing this call and just tag me with it. And, you know, if you didn't like it, that's fine. And, you know, if you did, that's cool. Just be honest and just share your honest opinion. Right. So I think I did them more than a month, but after a month I did start charging for them. Yeah. And I started, I think, at like $100 for like an hour, like easy, quick, whatever. And I was still doing those with some of like the free ones. So I had, you know, it's almost like marketing for me. I had, you know, the free consult call people, you know, giving me praise and shouting me out and like, you know, validating my knowledge and expertise. And then that would bring in, you know, the paid consults. So that brought in some cash, which was, you know, nice. And then I got annoyed one day on Twitter. I just saw like a bunch of people complaining. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of seeing everybody complain. So I'm just going to change. Instead of complaining myself, I'm just going to do something different. And I started this challenge called 30 Days of Threads. And for each day, for the next 30 days, I posted a thread on Twitter sharing like some type of information. So whether it was like marketing advice, a business model, systems, you know, how it was basically like tutorials, how to do stuff in business that I had learned. Yeah. And that, oh my God, like someone like made a bot for me for it to like retweet other people's stuff. Other people joined in. My account grew by thousands within like a few weeks. You know, my list, you know, that's when the list started to grow and stuff. I was getting more consult calls. So I was raising my prices. People were still booking them out. So at like one point, my consult calls were like $500 for an hour, and people were still booking them. I was like, oh my God, I gotta turn these off. You know, like I can't do this many consult calls. And then, you know, from that, I I set up like a welcome series through my email list. And the last email was a survey just asking people what's their number one biggest challenge when it comes, to starting a side hustle. And a lot of people through that, like I had like 400 responses over a couple months. And a lot of people wanted help with either like accountability or learning how to do what I was doing in project management. And so I just threw an idea out there. I was like, look, and Twitter is different than, what we're used to as far as like online marketing and like the standards and quality. There's a lot of scammy stuff on Twitter. There's a lot of like pay $50 and it's like a 2-page PDF with like links to things, a resource list pretty much. And so, I'm seeing like a lot of people get scammed. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to put together this course and I'm going to show y'all what like a $2,000 course looks like and should feel like in the experience of it. And it's only going to be $10. And so, if you want to go through the beta and watch me build it and watch me launch it and have access to the content and like the office hours calls, like y'all are going to help me formulate this and make it good. And, for doing that and going through like the technical difficulties and the bumps, it's going to be very bumpy and rudimentary, but, it'll only be $10 and, you only pay for it once. Right. Yeah. And like hundreds of people signed up for it that day, which was wild.
Because they're smart.
Hundreds of people signed up for it. And then, I eventually like doubled the price. And then like, I just put it at $50. And I think like we're almost at 1,000 people who have gone through it. And I released it officially in March. I closed like the window for pre-sale with like the $10 after like a couple weeks and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like a very, comprehensive launch management course and people go through it. And my favorite thing is that, there's like a Facebook group where I check in just like once a day, very casual. They know like she's in here once.
Yeah.
It's community led for sure.
Yeah.
But they're telling me like, I took this course and I got a promotion at my job because I set us up in a sauna and got us organized, or I got a job because, I said I've gone through this and have, these types of skills that I learned from you. I think I brought in like 8 of my friends who are service-based business owners who market online also. And like they shared a bunch of like information as far as getting clients. I had a coaching client of mine do a little mini class on like how to get your PMP, a project management certification. That's like really good to have, if you want to take it further. So like she got to get clients from that. They learned about, that. And so, it was so low key and it just, I don't know. It's nice. It's just nice to like, I feel like I was pregnant again and gave birth to something. And now, people are playing with my baby, but they like my baby. They think my baby's cute, and it's low price. So there's like not much fuss for me about it,
Right.
It's just like, it's an easy decision. I don't want to sit here and persuade you. I don't want to put together a webinar. I don't want to like stress about ad spend and stuff. It's a very easy yes or no. You want it, cool. If you don't, no big deal. Right.
Yeah.
Like, do what you need to do.
And what's it officially called? And we'll totally link to it because now everybody's going to want to go get it because it is. It's brilliant. And it is a very easy yes. And it's such a skill set. Like it's just such a valuable skill set. So can people buy it, or like how could somebody buy it for someone who is going to have or serve that role? Like I would want anybody that's working in my business to be trained by you. So like, how does that work?
That's funny because someone that I'm coaching, she has a pretty big business and she's made a new hire who doesn't have, like, she has an amazing skill set, but she doesn't have any experience in the online marketing world. So she's like, can I just pay you to give her like a crash course on like how the stuff works?
Right.
I was like, sure, no problem. Yeah. But to answer your question, it's a very basic title. It's how to project manage any online course. You can buy it under, you can put your information into there and like put your friend's name or email, or you can just contact me. Mm-hmm. And, the link for it is learnwithari.com/PM.
Okay.
And, it goes through everything on there. There's everything you need to know, but there's a lot in there.
This is so exciting. And I know we were FaceTiming to catch up like a few weeks ago or sometime in pandemic vortex of time. And I was just like, it's so fun to see you going live and sharing. And also those screenshots, I want to rewind back to, because I started with free consults and getting testimonials, but I love that you skipped the whole step of like, I was emailing and then they would reply and then I would put it together. Like, it's smart that you were just like, hey, well, we're on Twitter anyway. Cause then you have just easy screenshots these days. Back in 2013, it feels like the internet and social media was so different anyway. But just like I was scrolling through these screenshots that you had in an Instagram story of all these people on Twitter, just like, oh my gosh, like you said, these amazing stories of life shifting knowledge that they learned from you just because you did put yourself out there and you did start to share all the things that you know. And so it's just really fun and inspiring to watch. And I love getting to know that more and more people are getting to know all the things that you know from every step along your journey, because your perspective is so valuable because you, again, for many reasons, but also just because you know what it's like in the underbelly for better and worse of so many different kinds of businesses. And so many of us will never know that because we're just running our own businesses. So we just think that this is just how it is. And you're like, well, it doesn't have to be. And so your voice is just so valuable in this whole conversation of like, sure, you could overcomplicate it, or you could just do this. It doesn't have to be like super emotional or dramatic or confusing. So thank you for putting yourself out there and doing what you're doing. It's so fun to watch. And obviously you're getting all the divine breadcrumbs and validation that it's working, that people are paying attention and getting such great value and real, tangible, life-changing results from it.
That it's working. We talked about this on when we were catching up, but it was just at a point where it's like, all right, I can go back to launch management and just suck it up and do something I wasn't happy doing. I could go get a job, or I could make this, my own stuff work.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to try and make my own stuff work before I go get a job.
Yeah. Right. And it's important for us to play hard to get like that. And that's going to be a big part of the book, the Naptime Empires book, where it's like, okay, when we start to think that this is optional, what are the other options? Do I really want to do those options? No. Okay, fine. I'll do it. But we have to take the plate of cookies away. Like, okay, fine. Sure. You can't have business on your terms. That's fine. Okay. Go get a job or go do something else that's not actually fulfilling for money. No. Okay, cool. Then let's get back into it and be willing to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, so are you going to keep bleeding money, or are you going to, start putting some stuff back in there?
Right.
Come on, girl.
What are you going to do? So to bring it full circle as we wrap up, in this season, since you've been back, since you've been creating, what's been the day-to-day setup for Sai? Like, how have you been making it work over there with him and the hours that you're working? Is he going to, again, pandemic times are different, but he's 4, almost 5. So what's the daily life like over there?
Yeah, I had to shift things because he asked me if he could have 3 mommies. He said 1 to work, me, 1 to cook for him because I take too long to cook for him, and 1 to play with him because I'm always working.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, ouch. Okay, I'm not going to make a big deal. I'm not going to put drama behind it, but ouch.
Yep.
But I told him, okay, well, thank you for telling me that. You only have 1 mommy, but I can make some changes, So I was starting to get to the computer by 9:30 in the morning, right? And so now, I don't even start my day until 11:30, 12. I spend the whole morning with him. We watch cartoons, we eat breakfast, we go on a walk, we play with toys. And then starting about 11:30, 12, I'll, come check the computer, check my day, what's on my calendar. I don't really have many tasks in Asana. Most of it is just keeping track of my coaching clients and assigning them things to do for themselves.
Glorious. That's more fun.
Yeah, it's way easier. And then I'll usually have 2 or 3 calls, sometimes 4, sometimes more. So about 12 to 4-ish, I'll go in the other room and work on the computer, and either his babysitter will come play with him, my grandmother will come play with him, or, he has independent play.
Yeah.
With YouTube.
Yep.
YouTube or outside. And, luckily, like I've incorporated Silas into social media pretty much, right? Like I guess into my brand. So, my clients are aware that I have a son and they're very cool about it. A lot of times, even people that like I'm talking to for the first time, they'll go like, "Hey, where's Silas? I want to say hi." And, he'll pop in and interrupt calls and, everyone's really cool with it. They don't mind, it's not like an attitude thing or weird energy. Sometimes he'll sit with us or they'll start talking and I'll be like, all right, like this is their coaching session. So
right. Yeah. Even if they don't mind, I find that too. I'm like, and they're like, it's totally fine. No, come show me what you're working on or whatever. I'm like, yeah, but this is their time. So get out.
Right.
We'll go. Lock you out. But then they know how to unlock the door. So we have to really have clear communication. Like they'll go get a ninja turtle sword.
Right. I will give you ice cream. You can go get ice cream right now if you leave the room.
That's totally a thing where they know if I'm on a call, and it's like the other day I was on a call and Jeremy was helping his dad with something. And it's like, can we have popsicles? It's like 10 o'clock in the morning. And I'm like, yes, you little stinkers. Cause I'm going to say yes. I'm not going to argue with you right now and take all that extra time and bandwidth. It's very smart. It's very strategic.
He knows. And then, I'm done for the day. So I've really shifted to where like, I don't have many deliverables, and during like the coaching calls, anything that like I'm telling a client like they should do, I'm just putting it in Asana for them right then and there. And, they have full like freedom to go into their own Asana project I made for them and make changes and stuff. But I usually just like manage it and keep it organized for them. And they come and look at what they need to get done and to do. And that way, like, the biggest things I have to do are to make sure that like I email my list, which I'm not great at. I, post some form of content online or show up, and engage. And, that's pretty much it. I don't have a lot of like actual work to do outside of like content creation and showing up online and engaging. And then, doing my calls with my coaching clients.
That's amazing. And it's such a transformation from, like you said, when we met, when it was like work. And then obviously in the early months and year of him being boots on the ground or little bare feet on the ground, shifting that. So it's just inspiring to hear. And of course, work. Ari set the stage for you to know all of these things and have all of this experience and to have been able to build the savings that you did when you did and all of that. So it's like, it's just cool to see. I'm thankful for our 2015-16 selves, as rocky as it was at times in the transition, because that was they set us up to be able to have the perspective that we have now. So I love it. I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. And it feels just really cool to hear how you've got your system set up over there for now, and that people are definitely paying attention, learning, and really appreciating everything that you're sharing from all of these years, gathering intel from the inside. And so as we wrap up, is there anything we haven't talked about, any final words of wisdom or thoughts that you'd want to share, knowing the Naptime Empires listener on the other end of the earbuds right now?
I think something that I would have appreciated hearing, being a new mother and trying to make like this business stuff work, and then having to like transform multiple times and evolve multiple times. Yep. It's like each new growth spurt, everything changes.
For sure. Yep.
But it would have felt nice to hear like, there's no planning. Everything's not going to get figured out. It's going to, what you need in the moment is going to unravel and show itself when you need it, right? So just focus on, I don't even want to say being present, just focus on being the happiest you can be and the less stressed you can be in these moments. Enjoy the time with your babies, something I love, like if it's not like my working block, and if Silas is awake, then I'm trying to do my best to make sure like I don't have my phone on me, and I'm not scrolling the computer. Like I want to be very present because he grew up so fast.
Yeah.
I missed so many, like, I didn't miss like memories and stuff, but like, I don't feel like I was as present. I didn't give myself permission to be as present as I could have been during like the little baby stages and early toddler stages. It was always like, got to get this work done. I got to get this work done. Or let me try to like distract him or have someone get him so I can get this work done. And it should have been the opposite, right? It was like, I'm going to, hang out with my kid and then I'll get the work done, and I'll get done, whatever I can get done until I have to like pass out and go to sleep. Right.
Yeah.
And not seeing it that way, like caused me so much stress and unhappiness. And I eventually just leaned into seeing it that way. And it's so much better.
I wonder to the degree, like, I wonder how possible that is the first time around, because I felt the same way. That was the big watershed moment for me once Deaky was born. And then I realized Bryson was 4 and he was going to be 5 later that year. And I broke down over the Mickey Mouse waffles because when it's happening the first time, kind of like when you're driving somewhere for the first time or walking to the bathroom in a restaurant for the first time and the journey feels so long, like you have no idea where you're going. So everything feels like time is stretched out or whatever. And so it's like you feel like they're always going to be this little, or that this newborn phase is going to last forever. And then it's like, oh, wow, we're already changing out of these clothes. These already don't fit you, and then packing these away and finding the other ones. Like, I wonder how possible it really is. Like, no matter how much we say this to new moms and first timers, I wonder if it's really possible, because it's like a lot of it, I think, is just we learn it in retrospect. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's like being a teenager and your parents are warning you not to do something.
Totally.
You just have to do it.
I got to touch it. I got to go. But just let me take this taste. Right.
But for my clients who are mothers, I'm always stressing to them and making it part of their homework. Like, you're going to get the things you need to get done in your business with however much time you give yourself to do it. Right. Yeah. So if you're going to stress about it all week and give yourself all week to stress about it, you will, versus if you just schedule like a 3-hour block and get it done in that 3 hours, you're going to procrastinate and do it last minute anyway.
Exactly. Yes. So enjoy the procrastination instead of beating yourself up over it. 100%.
So now I just work that into my schedule. I know I'm not going to get something done until a day or two before it's due. So now I just schedule the time, make sure I have a sitter, and I don't feel guilty or stressed about it anymore. And I just go and enjoy my kid or my life or a bubble bath,
Yeah, whatever it is.
Anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that, because I think it's just an important thing, that it's just something that will keep circling our brains at every round, every season, because it's just like, but I have noticed for sure with Deaky second time around, that awareness that I had after going through that with Bryson and feeling like, oh, but I had my head in my laptop so much, whatever. I definitely can be more conscious in certain moments with them of like, this is a fleeting thing, or even taking a video like we were talking about earlier. Like, I'm going to take a video and document this, or really just try to anchor this into my mind, because it does pass. And then it's when you're looking through your camera roll that you realize it, and it hits you like a ton of bricks. Like, oh my gosh,
it hurts my soul.
The moments that flash up from a year ago, and it's like, wow, you were so little. But every day they're as little as they're ever going to be. And that's something I realized when I was packing Bryson's little newborn clothes away the first time.
Did you cry? I cried.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I cried, but I just was like, oh, wow. Okay. Now that's over and that's over. Or like yesterday he got an expander, and I'm like, okay, now we're going into orthodontics mode already. It's just phase one. But I'm like, oh my gosh. And then you're going to have like a few braces, and you're going to be a double big brother in a few months. Like, I cannot handle it. He's going to be turning 9. Like, what is happening over here? But again, I realized one day he's going to be turning 19. So let me enjoy while he's 8.
Right.
Anyway. Okay, well, this was amazing. I can't wait to share it. And I'll put all the links to the show notes and everything, but just tell us where we can find you on various social media in audio form first before we go.
Oh man. Okay. So Twitter and Instagram, my handle is Nerd Nomad Mom. To make it like easy to find everything, you can just go to arielhale.com/links, and there's like social media, different things that I've done or where I'm hanging out or what I'm doing. It's all there on that page. So, you can pick a type party you want to have there.
Okay, cool.
The course is there and everything as well.
And if you've ever heard me say Hale, yes, it was inspired by Ari's Haleness. Because it's funny because I've said it so much that then I hear like my clients and customers using it. Like, I want y'all to know it came from Ari, like just her existence, period, in our group with Suze. That's where it came from. I'm sure other people say it too, but there's a meaning and there's a human behind it. And now you know what a badass she is. All right, friend. I love you. Thank you for taking time. I know you've got other calls to hop on. So thank you for all of this. And I hope that you listening really enjoyed the conversation, took away some valuable nuggets from her journey, and that you'll keep watching because it sounds like there's lots of amazing stuff to come.
Thank you so much.
Okay, your homework for this episode is to consider what's one thing that you've always wanted to try but you thought you couldn't because you have a young kiddo at home? And how or in what form could you give it a go anyway? I just want to encourage you, while you have these inspiration cooties from Ari, to let yourself dream and play. And even if it doesn't look like it would if you weren't already a parent, how could you reel that into your present? How could you make this happen? I just was so inspired because I remembered her talking about wanting to travel, and then she just did it. So let that inspire you. Post a screenshot as you're listening. Tag us in your Instagram story. We'd love to hear from you, whatever your favorite takeaway was. And if you haven't yet, as always, I would love it and super appreciate if you'd take 60 seconds or less to leave a rating and review while you're here listening in your favorite podcasting app. That's it for this time. Catch you next time. Bye. This show may be over, but the conversation is just beginning. Head on over to naptimeempires.com/Facebook so you can join my free... Wait, did I say free? I meant priceless, rapidly growing community of Naptime Empire builders for deeper discussions, behind-the-scenes scoop, and of course, updates whenever I've got new stuff coming up for you. naptimeempires.com/Facebook. See you there.
See you next time. Thanks for listening.
Good job, buddy.